Hello, YouTube. I realize I have a very small sample size of videos, but to my enormous surprise, the most watched video that I have so far is on MLM Math, multi-level marketing company mathematics, which I'm gratified by because when I first recorded it, I was certain that it was the driest, most uninteresting, dullest topic of all of these, and that math is not going to win over emotion, but maybe it still won't. But I want to revisit the topic because I believe that the fatal flaw in multi-level marketing is the mathematics, and the fact that the mathematics is able to fool average people, including very intelligent people, because it's non-intuitive, and our intuitive brains don't get what's going on here. I'm going to try to explain what's going on here by revisiting MLM Math, but I'm going to once again review the elements of MLM. It has 4 elements. First is the concept of endless chain selling. One person sells to another person who sells to a third person who sells to a fourth person, and so on. This business model ignores the economic law of supply and demand and market saturation. Feature 2, pay to play. The participant must buy the product or service. In fact, the participant is the customer. And this is one of the hidden features here. You are a distributor, but really what you are is a customer. These are closed systems. If there were no outside retail sales, as there are not in companies such as iGenius, the company could survive, and in fact iGenius does survive, with only distributor/customers. Okay. Feature number 3, if you want to recoup your buy-in, your product pack plus your monthly subscription, if you want to break even, if you have any hope of breaking even, you must recruit others. In other words, you must sell this product or service and do so heavily. Otherwise, you're going to be in the negative. And as I'm going to claim later on in the video, if that's okay with you, just understand, please understand what you're doing. And then finally, the 4th element is extreme money transfer, in which 70% of every sale shoots directly to the top of the chain. Okay, in the last time that we covered MLM Math, I drew this graph for you, and I do it for a couple reasons. This is an idealized graph. In fact, this does not exist in real life. In this hypothetical example, which could never occur for reasons that will become clear later if you haven't already seen the first video, is that one distributor recruits 3 others, and they stay in the program and themselves recruit 3 others. And there's a couple things that I want you to notice about this distribution. First of all, let me describe what this graph shows, or table. Each row shows the number of distributors in a given level, the total number of distributors, and the percent of the total that is represented by the bottom tier, the last chain. You'll note that by the time you get down to level 10, 2/3 of the distributors will always be at the bottom. They will always be the last link in the chain, right? So for MLMs where you have to recruit, where you recruit 4 people, that percentage will be 75% always at the bottom. And for 5 distributors recruited by each distributor, it's 80%. Just keep in mind what I'm trying to say here. The example is that the majority of all distributors at all times throughout the life of the MLM are going to be in the bottom tier, and therefore ineligible for commissions from downlines. Why? Because there are no downlines. They're the last link in the chain. But of course it gets worse. Between levels 17 and 18 of this 3 distributor model, you reach the population of the United States and exceed it. And between levels 20 and 21, you exceed the population of the Earth. Now, this is an idealized example. In fact, what actually happens is this concept called churn, which is dropout, numbers of distributors per year who, for whatever reason, give up and quit. And that minimum is 50%. The 10-year churn rate, which is described by the industry itself, is 95%. This is what the direct selling commission themselves states. Okay. However, effectively, the bottom tier at any moment is going to comprise a minimum of 80% of all distributors. This is whether you are binary, unilevel, matrix, or what have you. And therefore, that 80% will be ineligible for commissions. In other words, they're paying their money and getting nothing back. Now, because of churn, any distributor still in the company must continue to recruit to replace lost downline if they hope to break even. And they're going to have to do this constantly. But the cold hard fact is that as hard as you work, churn is going to happen. It cannot be prevented. So the majority of the time that someone really working at an MLM, a runner, a real live wire, is that they're going to have to be recruiting and maintaining the downline virtually all the time, as Dave Ramsey says, nights or weekends. So speaking of math, I looked long and hard at various mathematical models and tried to come up with one that would describe what actually happens in MLM. And I think I found a way to represent this graphically, which is not going to require that I produce any mathematical equations. So pat on the back for Dr. Lindemann. I'm happy that I'm able to do this just graphically. An MLM can be thought of or can be conceptualized as a bucket with a hole in it. And new describers are dripped in from the spigot. The active subscribers are still in the bucket. And the churn is the drip out the back. Now, very often in opportunity calls, you're going to see a graph like this, the famous S-shaped curve. What you have is the number of distributors on the left, you have time on the x-axis, and you have this S-shaped curves where there's this slow growth, and then there's this very fast growth, and then it plateaus out at a top called the carrying capacity, which we can think of as saturation. Now, what is going to be said in these op calls always is that we're always over at the left. We're just getting started, regardless of how many years the company has actually been in business. It wouldn't surprise me if Amway said such a thing. What they want you to think is that the graph actually looks exponential, right? Is that with time, the number of available people out there is just going to grow and grow and grow and grow with you, and you're going to make all of this money. But that's not what the graph like. The model actually looks more like this. And this is based on an example sort of well, from the fishing industry, right? What does a population of fish look like if it's being commercially fished? There is some rapid growth, a peak which happens more or less quickly, and then a slow decline. Now, in most MLMs, there's going to be a pre-launch where there is certainly no retail sales, and all the sales that happen are sales of distributorships, and nobody argues otherwise. And that is this very, very fast bit. Very often, this is populated by individuals who have already come from another MLM with the downline intact. Now, during the op call, they say that you're going to be way over on the left side, but actually you're here. You're probably already on the decline. At best, you're at the peak. Now, moving entire downlines into your company, as is happening now in late 2024 with many multi-level marketing companies giving up the endless chain model and going to the classic affiliate model, you're going to see some bumping. Buying downlines or moving downlines is going to boost this curve from the green dotted line to the red dotted line to the black dotted line. But nevertheless, this is what we're looking at here. The churn is going to be at most times equal if there is no forget the drip. If there's no money being splashed in, as would happen with wholesale purchases of individuals, and the slow drip is eventually going to deplete the bucket, and the whole scheme goes to zero. Now, there's one other concept I want to discuss, and that's the zero-sum game. And this is a very important concept for anyone who's considering getting into MLM to think about. If you're going to win in MLM, in other words, if you're going to make more than you spend, your downline must lose money. I'm going to say that again. If you are going to profit, those below you must lose. And if you're okay with that, have at it. But you must understand what's happening. The whole team is not winning. If you're going to win, those below you must lose. It cannot be otherwise. And by lose, I mean that they're spending more than you earn. Now, if you value the community or the personal development or even the product and service more than you value your money, go for it. But please, don't pretend that you're going to profit from this scheme. The math requires it. Folks, here's the bottom line. You, your time, your skills, knowledge, and experience are valuable. They are way too valuable to waste in an MLM. That's all I've got. I'll see you in the next episode.